Hi everybody, Hugh Jackman here with you. I wish I could be there with you at the Faith Shorts finals, and alas I can't. As you can see, I'm on set filming the latest Wolverine movie. This is not a style choice of mine. I just wanted to take this opportunity to say what a joy and honour it is for me to be a judge of Faith Shorts. I've done this for a number of years, and every year the quality just gets better and better, and this year was no exception. In fact, it is the greatest year we've had so far. The finalists, I just want to congratulate you all on what you've done. We've had such a mix. We had comedy, we had drama, we even had musicals this year. We've had everything, and I really was impressed at what you all did and was very moved by them. So congrats to you all. Obviously congratulations to the winners, and I just want to encourage you all at the end of tonight, if you feel moved to do so, to support Faith Shorts for next year. There will be donation buckets, and anything you can give will be greatly appreciated. But till next year, hopefully next year I'll be there. Congratulations. Thank you so much for supporting Faith Shorts. See you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats, turn off your mobiles, and welcome your host for this evening from ITV News, Julie Etchingham.
Thank you very much indeed. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the 3rd annual Faith Shorts Award here at BAFTA. Welcome to an evening that will interest you, challenge you, and we all hope will inspire you too. It's a night of celebration of the best young filmmaking talent from around the globe and of the stories that they tell us all. And I know that many of the competition's entrants are watching the live stream right now. I'd like to welcome all of you watching remotely and encourage you to send in your messages this evening and your questions too via the Faith Foundation's website and Twitter. And please use the hashtag FaithShorts2012. Well, Faith Shorts is an annual short film competition for young people which asks them to explore what their faith means to them. Judged by an expert panel drawn from the worlds of faith and film, it gives young people across the world a chance to express themselves in creative and innovative ways. This year, the competition attracted more entries from more countries than ever before. From Amman to Auckland, with a dash of Nepalese thrown in, we've been delighted by the reach and the range of the films. Organised by the Tony Blair Faith Foundation in conjunction with the Pukinasha Films, Faith Shorts began with a call for entries back in March, and it led to judging over the whole of the summer. Well, thank you to one of our judges, Hugh Jackman, for kicking us off in such style with a great beard and for reminding us that these events cost money. We'd like to thank all of those who've given up their time to work on the competition, from the amazing panel of judges that were assembled to sponsors and the staff. Thank you all very much indeed. We couldn't run the competition without any of you. And before we see the results of the competition this evening, I'd like to invite now the patron of the Tony Blair Faith Foundation, unsurprisingly Tony Blair, up on stage to say a few words.
Thank you very much indeed, Julian. Thank you so much for hosting us here this evening. Thank you to all of you for coming. Thank you to those people who are joining us live streamed, and thank you particularly to Hugh, who's just given us that great start. I was actually did something in New York for climate change, actually, which featured myself, Hugh Jackman, and Ban Ki-moon, the UN General Secretary. And the person who was introducing the panel with the 3 members said one of these people got Male Body of the Year 2000 and something or whatever. And Ban Ki-moon said, "What's he talking about?" And I said, "Not either of us." So, thanks to you who does such good work for us. Just a word about the foundation before we get on to the business of the evening. Tony Blair Faith Foundation is now active in around about 20 different countries. We have programs for schools, for universities. We have a great action program which is joining up particularly Christian and Muslim communities in Africa through the churches and the mosques as part of the anti-malaria campaign. Faith motivates and inspires people in the world today and inspires them often to do good. And you can see that through the program we run in Sierra Leone, which has reached about 1 million people, and where through the churches and the mosques we help people get the bed nets, use them, get trained how to use them properly, train the health workers and so on. Fantastically successful program. That is one face of faith, if you like, which is positive, compassionate, caring towards other people. And then just last week I was in Nigeria with the Archbishop of Canterbury-elect, launching a program there to try and bring people of different faiths there in Nigeria closer together. But just recently there has been a whole series of spate of violence between people of different faiths has left many, many people dead and has greatly polarized society there. And that is the other face of faith. So faith can inspire people to great works. Unfortunately, it can also inspire them to great extremism. So what we're trying to do is to create through the Faith Foundation the opportunity for people to come together in understanding, on the basis that where there's understanding, there's more likely to be peaceful coexistence, and where there's ignorance, there's more likely to be fear and conflict. So Faith Shorts is one cultural expression of that. You've got masses of websites, ridiculous ventures like the Innocence of Muslims, which can cause conflict and difficulty throughout the world. What we're trying to do is to show that actually people talking about their faith, their personal faith, and making some art and culture about it can actually give a far more positive and far more welcoming view of what faith can mean and how it can inspire people. So I'm delighted that Faith Shorts is now making a difference, by the way, outside of this one annual ceremony. The Times Educational Supplement lists previous films amongst the resources for use by teachers. We've heard of films being used to teach everything from religious education to film studies and citizenship. The BBC recently invited the Faith Shorts team up to Salford to participate in their first Religion and Ethics Festival, showing some of the winning films of the last 3 years. We've even had films shown at the Trento Film Festival in Italy and had interest from other film festivals from around the world. So all of this is creating a valuable legacy and a continuing use for powerful films by the next generation to help reach not only their peers, but those older but not necessarily wiser. However, without secure funding, we just couldn't run Faith Shorts. So we're hugely grateful to all our donors, especially just to list them, the Wasserman Foundation for its overarching support, the National Film and Television School, Silverfish Media, the Radisson Blu, Portman Square, Soho House, Jonathan Kaplan, QC, and Robert Cook from the foundation. So thank you all for your vital support. I'd also like to thank the judges who donated time out of their very busy schedules to judge the films, and to those who have come this evening. Faith Shorts is now something that is expanding each year. Some of the films are very, very moving, and they're done by people who are young people, but who've got something to say, not just to the youth of the world, but maybe more particularly to adults and those often in positions of authority who are making decisions. And what they give us is, I think, a very inspirational insight into what can happen when people stress the positive side of what faith means to them. So thank you all very much indeed for coming this evening. Julie, over to you, and let the evening's festivities begin. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Tony. And it's nice to hear we've got a young, budding filmmaker in our audience this evening. What a lovely sound to hear. To get proceedings going in full then, I'd like now to invite Nick Powell, the chair of the BAFTA Film Awards and director of the NFTS, to join us on stage. Not only has Nick given up his time to judge the films this evening, he's also hosting our winners at the NFTS tomorrow for a guided tour and tutorial to continue all the good work that's been established here so far. Nick.
Thank you, Julie. Good evening, everyone. Faith Shorts, is an important competition. I work both with young people at the NFTS, but also I work with professional filmmakers and see what they think of the world and how they choose to represent what they think of the world in their work. And films, you know, really address religion or issues of faith with the intricacy the subject deserves, often preferring stereotypes over substance. But I'm delighted, you know, that the next generation of filmmakers are rising to that challenge. And you'll see from the films tonight that these young people didn't shy away from tackling difficult issues. Issues you may be surprised to see confronted. I just want to digress slightly. I was in Tashkent. I don't travel as much as Tony, but I did manage to get Tashkent, which for those of you who don't know is in Uzbekistan. And if you don't know where Uzbekistan is. And it was interesting because in my hotel there was not a Quran and there was not a Bible, but there was a book of Uzbeki proverbs. And one sprung out at me, which I thought really reflected what the Faith Foundation and this film and the Faith Films, you know, is about. And let me share it with you. It was, don't choose a house, choose neighbors. Don't choose a path, though you can, choose traveling companions. And that's what I think these filmmakers that you're going to see tonight have done. Uzbekistan also had a very famous resident in the 13th century, a storyteller and mullah called Nasruddin Hoxha. Some of you will no doubt know about him. But he's one of the great storytellers, and he has a story or two that I think are also relevant this evening. The first one was when Nasruddin was sitting on the side of a river and someone on the other side shouted at him, "Mullah, how do I get to the other side of the river?" And Nasruddin thought for a moment and then he shouted back, "You're already on the other side." And of course, you know, there's a lot of people who want to cross the river to the other side and they just don't realize that actually they're already on the other side. My favorite one, which I have to say is not completely relevant, but I do love it, was Nasruddin was asked he had two wives, and his older wife, who was quite considerably older, you know, asked him, "Nasruddin, which of us do you love the most?" And he said, wisely, as all us men say, "I love you both equally." And Nasruddin, she wasn't satisfied with the answer. She said, "Well, look, if we were both thrown into the ocean off a boat, which one of us would rescue first?" And Nasruddin thought for a moment, and he said, "Well, you can swim a bit, can't you?" to the older one. So as you can see, ageism is pretty aged. I'm really pleased that we had a number of entries from those, if you like, of no particular faith, or as I prefer to say, secular, and indeed from some atheists. But as Tony was just saying earlier, faith matters. And whether you're religious or not, it's equally important to understand the secular viewpoint as it is the religious viewpoint. And like Tony, I was heartened by the creativity, talent, and most importantly, the honesty of many of the entrants. So I think it's time we saw a film, a compilation of the work that is competing today in this competition. Let's take a look.
extraordinary, aren't they? Thank you very much indeed, Nick. And I think you'll agree that the diversity, breadth and creativity of those films simply astonishing, really. From that short compilation, you get a real sense of just how much time, thought and effort has gone into making the films, as well as the technical mastery of such a young group of filmmakers. I think every one of those films and every filmmaker deserves recognition. There'll be people watching online, so I thought we'd give them another big round of applause for all their efforts. What you may not know is that Faith Shorts is a truly inclusive competition. For those who didn't have access to filmmaking equipment, cameras or editing software, and sometimes it's obviously very difficult, there was a pitch competition too, allowing everyone or anyone with a good idea to send in the details of the film that they envisaged making, and they could win a flip cam which came complete with editing software to enable to make the film they wanted. No internet access, that wasn't a problem either. The team arranged for the cameras to be sent back to the offices at no charge. If they didn't have a reliable postal system, get the camera to a local office for one of our programmes, and the staff there ensured that the films were safely entered into the competition. So for those of you at home watching on live stream, or indeed in the audience here, and you've been inspired by what you've seen so far, if you've got an idea but not a camera, it's not a problem. Faith Shorts wants to hear from you, and we hope to see your film up here next year. So now on to the first award of the evening, the 14 to 17-year-olds, those who are still at school. I'd like to welcome to the stage one of the judges, an award-winning producer of films such as Notting Hill and 4 Weddings and a Funeral, Duncan Kenworthy.
Thank you very much, Julie. I'm delighted to be supporting the Tony Blair Faith Foundation, and particularly in its film competition. It's always seemed to me so odd that reality in movies, I mean, not just in movies, often in all media, is defined negatively. You very rarely have a newspaper headline that says, "A mother got her son off to school this morning." It's all about drama, violence, depression, negativeness, and but it doesn't have to be that way. That isn't my definition of reality. But mind you, my career spans Sesame Street to Richard Curtis, so you'd not be surprised about that. And I made a movie with love in the title, but it's really important that there are, as it were, forces on the other side in that balance, from the negative to the positive. And movies are critical in that. If movies and television were the art form of the 20th century, moving image is going to be the art form of the 21st century. So you young filmmakers are part of what is, I think, a really important way of moving into the future. So I am delighted to announce that this year's winner in the 14 to 17-year-old category is a young man who's produced a short film exploring how faith can blossom even in the most terrible of circumstances. And now we're going to have a look at the winning film, which is called Letting Go, Letting God.
Based on the results that we got from your biopsy, I'm sorry to tell you that you have a cancer in the ovary, stage 3. Our next plan is for you to have your chemotherapy to control the growth of the cancer cells. I'm sorry to tell you that you have a cancer in the ovary, stage 3. You have a cancer in the ovary. You have a cancer in the ovary. You have a cancer in the ovary. Stage 3. You have a cancer in the ovary. Stage 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3. 3.
The winner of the 14 to 17-year-old category is Charles Flamiano, who's travelled all the way from the Philippines to be here this evening. So Charles, please come up on stage to receive your trophy and say a few words.
This award has been, so far, the best thing that happened to me. And I'm grateful to the Tony Blair Faith Foundation for giving me the opportunity to travel to London to receive this award and to see this very lovely place. I'd also like to thank the judges for deciding to pick my film, my classmates who serves as cast and crew, my family, my dad, my mom, and brother for their wonderful support, my school and EDU IBID for nurturing my faith since elementary years, and above all, God for guiding me every step of the way and making this happen. Thank you.
So Charles, congratulations indeed from all of us here and all of those watching online. And I know that your mother was the main source of inspiration for the film, and I'm sure she and all of your family must be extremely proud of you. And someone else who's very proud of your achievement is Joel Villanueva, who's the Director General of the Technical Education and Skills Development Authority of the Philippines. And he wanted to share this message with you, Charles.
I'm so proud to congratulate Charles Andrew Flamiano for winning in the Tony Blair Faith Foundation's Global Film Competition, Faith Shorts. I also would like to congratulate John Renang for being one of the year's finalists. I'm so very proud of these young Filipinos for making their mark in this prestigious competition. In these times when faith and religion come under assault and ridicule, it is truly uplifting to watch these young men rise above the skirmishes and remind us of the true meaning of our faith. There are so many challenges in our lives. Some are personal, and others affect the society and even the world. Andrew and John Ray have taken time to remind all of us that in the most trying of times, we can only depend and offer our trials to our God. Thank you, Andrew and John Ray, for inspiring all of us, your friends, and your elders by the work that you do. May you continue to give honor and glory to our God. Thank you also to Tony Blair Faith Foundation for providing our youth with a venue to creatively express their understanding of faith. These films are indeed materials that make us reflect and value our relationship with God. Again, congratulations to you all, and keep up the good work. God bless you more.
What a lovely, uplifting and bouncing message from the Philippines. Congratulations, Charles. Absolutely wonderful work. So now it's time to move on to the 18 to 27-year-old category, and to present this award this evening, I'd like to welcome actor, writer, director, and I've just found out one of my neighbours apparently, comedian Omid Jalili, to the stage tonight.
Thank you. It's a real honour to come here again. I was here last year and I was very moved by what Mr. Blair has done here, because he gave a rousing speech about faith. Faith should be a cause of good in the world, in a time where, as our Filipino friend said, faith has come under attack and ridiculed, and you have intense religious fanaticism. At the same time, you have atheistic fundamentalism that's also been on the rise. It's wonderful to see an event like this, which really, I suppose, gives a very strong message about faith, that faith essentially, we are one humanity. Faith really should be one, because God is not just some bearded bloke on a cloud. God is an unknowable essence which we won't really understand. But we are all, it's one God, in the same way that the vegetable kingdom will never understand the the animal kingdom will never really understand the human kingdom. We will never really understand this unknowable essence. So having faith shorts is also a very, very difficult thing to do in an entertaining and interesting way. I did a film a couple of years ago, you may have heard of it, called The Infidel. It was about a Muslim who finds out he's a Jew. And it was a film that was, somebody saw me in the street literally a week ago in East Sheen, where Julie lives, and just by Cafe Nero, actually. A bloke, a place we often go to, a bloke said to me, "Hey, I saw you in that film, The Infidel." And I never like it when people say, "I saw you in the film." You have to say something about it. I say, "Yeah, okay." He goes, "Yeah, I saw the film." And I said, "Well, what did you think of it?" He goes, "Yeah, it's a bit like Marmite, innit? You either like it or you hate it." I said, "What did you think?" He went, "It's all right." And so I'm glad we hit this kind of mediocre numbness, which is very difficult to achieve. So there is a point why I'm saying all this, because if you look at Gaza, we've just had in Gaza, there's been the ceasefire. And it's always been amazing to me that people have seen this Israeli-Palestinian conflict as a religious conflict. It's not a religious conflict. It's really about land, and it's always, like most wars, it's extraordinary to me how human beings who are the highest created form on the planet are fighting over the lowest form, which is Earth. And I was very pleased to hear of the ceasefire, and the UN saying that Israel must give back the occupied territories, but they can hang on to New York, which I thought was very... Tony told me to tell that joke. Maybe it's the wrong crowd, I don't know. But there is a point. There is a point to all this, because the winner of the 18 to 27-year-old is actually an Israeli. And it's a film, I have to say, it completely blew the judges away. It's a claymation film. It's an animation film in the style of, I think you saw a bit of it, like the Aardvark films of Wallace and Gromit. The maker of this film took months doing this film and actually had to sleep next to the set so that the set wouldn't move even by a millimeter. When you put these clay things, if you have to move things millimeter by millimeter. So it was incredible, and the film actually tackles incredibly complex themes in a very entertaining and provocative way. And it's also a musical. So let's take a look at this film. It's called Deathbed the Musical.
I lay here on my deathbed. What awaits me in the great beyond? What rich gifts are out there when God's light has dawned upon me?
I've brought you breakfast.
Oh, you have brought me my last meal, but soon I shall feast on the ambrosia of heaven. Stroke my cheek, dear earthly angel, and sing me to my rest.
Eat up while it's hot.
Have you no kindness for a dying old man as I stumble in the darkness? Will you not do what you can for me?
You're in a pretty good mood for a dying man, singing and all.
To sing is to prepare to meet with my Maker. In my song I shall praise him.
Who is he?
He
who?
God.
Oh. Well, I guess everyone needs something to hold on to.
He is my comfort. He is the apple of my eye. For him I have lived. And I shall come to his bosom as a child of light, and rest for all eternity.
And even if not, it's still okay.
What do you mean, even if not? So it shall be, even if not, then what?
Everyone has their own thing, like candy, books, or... And if you want to worship God, then that's just great for you. Well, I prefer to live my life free of you know who. I don't need a fuzzy cloud to tell me what to do. And even if there was a God, which one would it be? Buddha or Ra, Ganesh or Allah, Odin or Jesus, a kitten that sneezes, Cthulhu, the force Jehovah?
There's only one true God, and he is the one that I believe in.
We don't know that, nor does the world.
Ah, silence, you evil heathen. Devil sent your wicked spawn to test me if I'm true. So all I hear from your fat lips is moo, 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 moo.
I don't believe in God, because I don't believe in Mother Goose. I can't deny him, but I just cannot see the proof.
All you need is faith, or you'll burn in the eternal flame. So your satanic words are void, and your kids will know your pain.
I am delighted to welcome onto the stage the winner of the 18 to 27-year-old category, Liat Hargil from Israel.
Hi. I would like to thank the Tony Blair Faith Foundation, the judges, and the entire Faith Shorts team for this honor and wonderful experience. I would also like to thank my amazing parents and brothers for their endless support, and I love you. You are my inspiration. I myself am not a religious person, but I believe that the work of the foundation in promoting an understanding between people of different faiths is very important and should be celebrated. I am grateful that the foundation understood the message of my movie, The Dangers of Religious Intolerance, and selected me for this award. Thank you very much.
Well, congratulations, Liat, for an absolutely stunning film. I watched it on my computer at home and it made me laugh out loud, but it also made me bite my lip on occasions as well, and I suppose that was the tension within it that just made it so fantastic a watch. And we know someone else who'd also like to send their congratulations is David Shalita, Israeli animator and film festival producer. He sent you this message, Liat.
Hello, my name is David Shalita. My friends call me Dudu. I am from the older generation of animators in Israel, a teacher and a curator of the only animation festival, Animix, in Israel. Israel is a small country, and we have a small, limited size of animation community. Most of the animators are very young people. It's not very common for young animators, young people, to deal with death or religion or even spiritual topics. So I was so amazed to see Liat Hargil beautiful film, and I'm so happy that this film have reached to your festival and to your competition and even won the first prize. It's a big pride for us in Israel, but especially for Liat, and we are all proud of her, and we hope that she will keep doing her brave and direct beautiful work in Israel, and also I think using mainly hand techniques and not trying to do another computer generated graphics like most of the young people today. I think it shows of an original thinking. And Liat, if you are watching me now, מזל טוב, יופי של עבודה, והרבה הצלחה בעתיד. תודה רבה. Thank you very much.
And now for one final category, the Tony Blair Faith Foundation runs an educational programme called Face to Faith for children aged between 12 and 17. And the programme allows children to learn about different cultures and religions using modern technology such as video conferencing and secure websites to do classes and homework together so that they can make friends, share experiences and connect with someone their age right on the other side of the world. And this year, the programme challenged the children to make a film for Faith Shorts and ran the competition on their secure website, and it proved extremely popular. So I'd like now to welcome Cardinal Cormac Murphy O'Connor to the stage to reveal the winner tonight.
Well, thank you very much, Julie. I'm delighted to be here. I've just come back from Bangladesh on a visit there to visit the Catholics there. But I was very interested in going to a school where there were 5,000 boys, 4,000 Muslims and 1,000 Christians. And I thought during my visit there, that there was much respect and a beginning of an understanding of each other, but I thought it could go even further. And but I was very, very happy to be there in a country where there are so few comparatively one faith, Christians, and so many of another, the Muslims. So I thought particularly apposite that I should be here tonight, present the winning film in this category, which looks at faith from a different angle. It explores what it means to have a sense of self, who I am, what it means to have a sense of purpose, meaning in life, and who I am, who we are. So I think this film is refreshing, it's honest, and it's very, very sensitive. So I'm happy to present this film, which is called The Mirror. Let's see it.
The world we live in has a very fixed image of the way our lives are supposed to be. It wants us all to take that image and make it what we see in the mirror of life. Do that and you're right. Otherwise you're just crazy. Take for example, me. I don't have fair skin or blue eyes. My face isn't chiseled like a sculpture. I'm slightly fat and I'm not very tall. When I look at the mirror of life, I don't see someone whose appearance matches the image the world wants it to match. I don't like talking too much, and I don't have the best sense of humor. I stay indoors most of the time. I have but a few friends. When I look at the mirror of life, I don't see someone whose social life matches the image the world wants it to match. And I don't want to be a doctor or an engineer. I don't want a desk job and a family by the time I'm 30. I want to be a writer, and I want to change the world. When I look at the mirror of life, I don't see someone whose aspirations match the image the world wants them to match. And I don't believe in God. I don't believe in rituals or rites. I don't want to pray in a temple like my elders want me to, so I'm ill-mannered. When I look at the mirror of life, I don't see someone whose beliefs match the image the world wants them to match. I don't look, think, act, behave, believe, and dream like I'm supposed to. Looking at the mirror of life, I don't see someone who matches that image at all. But that doesn't deter me, because I just see me, a person who's flawed, confused, immature, silly, and stupid, but a person who's unique in his own way. I believe in that uniqueness. All my life, I'm going to have people trying to knock me down because I'm not the person the world wants me to be. But I'm never going to stop being me, because I believe we were all born different. I have faith in my own uniqueness, and that faith will always inspire me to be my own unique self. And if they want to call me crazy, they can go ahead and do that. After all, the people that are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do.
Well, the winner, as you can see, is a young man who I'm sure is going to change the world, and that is Mudit Muraka from the Apije School in New Delhi. So please, Muraka, would you like to come up? Congratulations.
First of all, I'd like to say this is really amazing and I'm really overwhelmed. So I'd like to thank everyone who's been involved in my project, the Mirror, Parth, Suranj, Gunjan, Anmol, Radhika, Grusha. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much for helping me out. Thanks to my parents, thanks to my school, my principal, and thanks most of all to Mr. Blair and his foundation. Thank you for giving me this platform to express my views on what is such a sensitive and such an important topic for young people. And I hope the foundation continues its great work. Someday maybe we can all live in a world where young people, everyone really, is free of stereotypes and prejudices and can have their own unique fates and their own unique, beautiful selves. Thank you so much.
Very many congratulations to you, Mudit, and we know that you've not only flown from India, but you've got many members of your family joining us tonight, and there's someone who is equally proud of your achievements, Mudit, and he would like to congratulate you too. I'll perhaps give you a chance to get back to your seat so you can take it all in. And we've had a special message for Mudit from Bollywood superstar Amitabh Bachchan. Wow, wow indeed.
Hello, this is Amitabh Bachchan. I would like to congratulate Mudit Murarka from APJ School of Delhi for winning the school's category of the Faith Short Film, a competition with his film The Mirror. I am very proud that India has produced a winner in this competition. Mudit has made a film which is brave, honest and creative, and he has shown great talent. I was inspired to hear about Mudit and many other Indian entries to the competition. It demonstrates the dynamic and aspiring new generation of Indian filmmakers, which should really be nurtured. Faith Shorts has provided makers in India and worldwide with a platform to showcase their talent, speak to the world. So many, many congratulations to Mudit. Thank you.
Bollywood routines in the films next year. That would give the judges something to consider, wouldn't it? Well, all of the films this evening were made by the winners that we've seen here on the stage and those watching online. Content generated by young filmmakers who use the resources at their disposal, like Mudit's work that we just saw there to tell their own stories. And this is often called user-generated content, which is a very sort of clinical name for something very revelatory and emotional often. But at its broadest, it serves different purposes for different people. You can pick a hobby or a subject or a passion, and whatever your pastime or interest, you'll find people on the internet creating content in the hope of sharing it with other interested parties, people. And that's exactly what I know all three of those films are aiming to do. Some people even turn it into a business and make money from it. And so-called citizen journalism takes this one stage further. It's user-generated content with a news agenda. It's something I know that newsrooms like mine have looked at very carefully to see how and whether it should be incorporated into mainstream broadcast media. It often offers you a probing eye on the story, on the ground where you might not be able to get a reporter. So user-generated content, whether it's creative films or reporting, is a whole new field that is awaiting all of us to get to grips with. And both of these mediums have gone from being seen as niche markets to mainstream activities and necessities often used by broadcast channels like mine. And they're fueled by events like the Arab Spring and the Occupy Wall Street movements, where we see filmmakers really fighting to get their message out to a global audience. So the Faith Shorts films are really part of this whole new landscape which is emerging before us. We see people who might have been marginalised reclaiming their own stories and telling them firsthand and having a very direct way of communicating with an audience. But we found, particularly in television newsrooms, I'm sure many others here this evening will have found this too, that immediacy, straight reporting from citizen journalism can present problems in itself. How do we tell if a film is balanced, if it's telling a fair story, if it's genuine, and even if the content is real? And how do we start to understand how we use that content to showcase different cultures and religions, of course, to their best effect, rather than being used for malign purpose? How do we showcase the films like the ones we've seen this evening in the best way, so that others can hear the voices that could shape ideas and potentially change our world, as we were just hearing in that final film? Well, to consider some of those questions, we have a panel of experts here this evening who are going to join me on stage now alongside Tony Blair. Please welcome, first of all, Jimmy Wales, the founder of Wikipedia. Paul Rauschenbusch, editor of the religion section of the Huffington Post. Sarah Hunter, head of public policy at Google, which also owns YouTube. And June Sarpong, filmmaker, blogger, broadcaster and tweeter. Is she with us here? There she is. I was trying to spot you earlier, June. So we can all take a pew down here now. Nice to see you, June. Hello. You were hiding just around the corner in the audience. I couldn't quite see where you were. Well, thank you very much indeed, all of you, for joining us. What a great occasion to be discussing user-generated content, which is just this awful term that we all use for it, when we know that it can be vibrant, creative and beautiful when it's at its best. Tony, if I could start with you first this evening, because you mentioned the film The Innocence of Muslims in your opening words this morning, and this evening rather, and it's an interesting sort of leaping off point, because that was a classic example of how websites, this sort of material, can be used for extremely malign purposes. What are your reflections on it?
Well, I think the new media is itself a revolutionary phenomenon, and I think we haven't yet understood fully all the different dimensions to it. For example, I think if you look at the Arab uprisings, it's absolutely impossible to divorce that from the impact of social media. So it's got an enormous impact. And what it means is that you can use it, I mean, it's like fire, you can use it for good or for bad. So what you've got to understand is, and this is why it's necessary, this is something which you're going to have to engage. I mean, for people my generation, it's quite hard to understand all of it sometimes, but But you know, you start to understand how absolutely central it is. And when I watch my 12-year-old now do his homework, as I was doing yesterday, you suddenly realize it's a whole new world. By the way, it really is. I mean, I'm thinking, I remember doing homework, it was nothing like this. And I said to him the other day, you know, we were discussing something. I said, well, back then there were no mobile phones. Really? I mean, it was like the Stone Age, it might as well have been. So this user-generated content, now this is there, we've got to work out how we try to both understand it, and then for those of us who are engaged in trying to use it positively and constructively, how do we do that? But it's of fundamental importance. I mean, it's going to absolutely change the world in which we live and is changing it. So, you know, really to be able to use it constructively is an immense challenge, but also I think a great opportunity for us.
Sarah Hunter from Google, if I could bring you in there, because I know the film, The Innocence of Muslims, caused quite a problem for Google, didn't it? I mean, it was on your platform. It made you political in a way. You had to block it for some countries in which where it contravened laws, but it really posed a problem for Google. Just take us through what challenges it gave to you.
Yeah, I mean, it's worth saying that we face these sort of challenges every day at YouTube, and it's not easy. You know, there's no sort of rule book out there that we can refer to. It's a very, very difficult and sensitive subject. And I mean, I think, you know, it's worth saying that free expression is for the founders of Google and for everyone at Google really, really, really important. You know, our view is that the world is a better place if we can have more information for more people. And so actually I think that services like YouTube or like Wikipedia, which are based on that premise of more information for more people, actually give us better opportunities, if you like, to deal with the sort of risks of you know, mob rule or any of these sort of phenomena. So for example, you're right that the Innocence of Muslims video, which was posted on YouTube, we had a lot of people saying you should block it globally. But we also had a lot of people, you know, across the Middle East and you know, imams included, saying, actually, keep it up, and if we disagree with this portrayal of our faith, we should post our own videos showing the alternative, because that's the much better way to educate people about these sort of offensive materials. So it is complicated, it's not easy, but I actually am quite hopeful that the internet provides us with more tools, if you like, to deal with the complexities than the offline world.
And did you have any sense that communities rose to that challenge at all?
Absolutely. I mean, at YouTube, I think 72 hours of content is uploaded every single minute. So just in the time we've been talking, you know, days and days of content. You can never watch the amount of content available on YouTube. So people do rise to the challenge, and I think today's competition demonstrates that there are opportunities for young people that never existed before. It's amazing.
Paul Rauschenbusch, I know you're responsible for the religion section of the HuffPo, as we all know it now, but what do you make of this content? It actually gives real challenges to newsrooms and news operations, doesn't it?
Well, it's more opportunities. I think we're very excited about having a religion section so that we can invite a lot of voices to the table who often have been not given places. So we are, you know, part of my everyday job is looking out there and seeing who is doing something interesting. And we have a very explicit policy. We want productive, positive, pluralistic voices on Huffington Post Religion. But I would say that user-generated content are not these big things necessarily. One thing that happened after, you know, the Innocence of the Muslims was something very funny in the United States, where Newsweek put out a hashtag that says Muslim Rage. And a lot of Muslims around the world decided to take that, which was a very provocative thing, look at the Muslims, look how they're raging, and actually started making fun of it. Like falafels with no garlic sauce, Muslim rage. So I think the way we should be thinking about the internet is not always in these big, I mean, wonderfully produced, and I have to thank our filmmakers, all of them, because we put them up one after another on Huffington Post Religion, and it just, every day, it gave me like a 3-minute pause of beauty. But it can also be the way you interact with every person on the internet. It's about being positive. What can you bring to the table that actually adds to more love, compassion, positivity, rather than tearing people down?
Jimmy Wells, I mean, you have to grapple on Wikipedia the whole time about stuff that's put on there that ain't necessarily so. I mean, is there space for rules and regulations, or does that just totally blow against the whole idea of free speech on the internet? I mean, how do you manage a situation like the one we were just discussing?
One of the things that we do is we draw a clear distinction between editorial judgment and censorship. They are very different things, and we quite consistently fight censorship all around the world, and we don't participate in censorship. But at the same time, on Wikipedia, we're quite ruthless about exercising editorial judgment. Wikipedia is not a place, it's not YouTube. It's not a place where you come and you post your own opinions or your inflammatory videos or something like this, or not inflammatory, you know. It's about documenting the facts, and that's what we do, and we're quite vigorous about that. And so I do think that in that context, the rules are important. They're important so that, you know, when everyone in this room, they hear that, oh, there's something going on about innocence of Muslims, and they open up, what is it, Newsweek, and they see Muslim rage, and they're like, oh, all right, what's really going on? Hopefully they can turn to Wikipedia and get a compilation of just the basic facts. And I think that's critically important for the kind of dialogue that the Faith Foundation promotes. I mean, the first thing, but I mean, it's so different now for young people, as we've seen here. Probably by the time they learn to read, Wikipedia at least existed, because it's now 12 years old, and oh no, they're a little bit older than that, but very close, you know. When I was their age, I'm not even sure I knew what a Muslim was, you know. The world has changed dramatically, and the ability for the next generation of young people to not just have a blind hatred for the other, but actually see and understand different people of different perspectives, it's unbelievably powerful.
June, you've been a close media watcher and part of the media landscape in this country, now in the US as well. Do you think it's embraced in a different way on the other side of the Atlantic, or?
Yeah, I think so. I'm, you know, having lived in America now for 5 years, I'm constantly shocked by what's called news over there. You know, it's kind of like a game show, really, and you know, and the way that people, you know, newscasters are able to sort of fully express their opinion as opposed to just tell the story. And now, if you do sort of make programming that just tells a story, it doesn't rate the same way over there. So, and I think that's and you saw a lot of that in the election that's just happened. I think it's very dangerous. And so coming back home, it's quite nice to just kind of say, oh, okay, that's clearly what happened. Oh, don't want to know what you think, just tell me what happened. So, yeah, definitely.
So it's interesting. So it seems from what all of you have said really is it's knowing where the trusted places are online and knowing how to set films that might be inflammatory in context, Sarah.
Yeah, I mean, I think what's interesting about YouTube, you're right, that YouTube is designed to be an open platform for everyone to be able to upload their videos in an equal, democratic way. But there are very strong community guidelines on YouTube. So, and often those community guidelines go way beyond the law. And actually, it's, you know, with so much content being uploaded, we have to rely upon the community to tell us if something is going against our guidelines. So if someone posts a video that is hate speech, we rely upon the users of YouTube to flag it to us and say, hey, this is bad stuff. And it is amazing how quick bad content gets flagged on YouTube. You know, content that clearly is outside the community guidelines is flagged within a couple of minutes. You know, it doesn't last for long. So what I think is amazing is how much more effective a community policing is than any rule or regulation that a government or indeed Google as the company that owns YouTube could enforce. It's incredibly powerful.
So there's an element of peer pressure online that can work. Yeah. Is that the sense that you have of it?
Yeah, definitely. I have a project that I'm working with the UN at the moment, and that's all about how you bring people from around the world with very different views together to connect. And I think that's the beauty of the internet. You know, the community sort of polices itself. So I totally agree with you there.
Well, I think there are lots of difficult issues about policing and so on, but I think the thing that interests me is what is the opportunity to bring people together, because, you know, as Jimmy was just saying, and I think this would be true for me. I mean, I remember being brought up in the north of England where our community was completely homogenous. I mean, everyone was the same, basically. Now, probably they weren't, but we thought they were at least.
Well, they look the same.
Yeah. And, you know, now what happens is that young people from a very early age, I mean, really, if they don't know about other people who are different, they're not equipped for the world. And so one of the things I think that is interesting is what is the opportunity to use these new forms of communication in order to build these bridges of understanding, because otherwise what you find is that because people who are different are obliged in a way to mix together now. They do it physically through migration, they do it online in a virtual sense. Therefore, they will either mix together or they're going to fight with each other.
I was about to turn to you, Paul, to ask you about it.
Well, I just want to give one story about an interesting. There was Reddit is a very popular website, and a Redditor took a photograph of a Sikh woman, a young Sikh woman who was a college student who had some facial hair, and he put it up on Reddit and said, "Look at this woman, how freaky she looks. She had a turban and facial hair." And what was the most interesting thing is she responded to this. Someone told her, "Did you know you're on Reddit?" And she went on Facebook and said, "Oh, it turns out I'm on Reddit. Let me explain to you about my faith. Let me tell you about why I wear what I am wearing. And I just want to say, I understand how it's confusing." And she wrote the most compassionate letter on Facebook. This became a story for us to cover. And then we covered it, and it got, I would say, over 1 million unique visitors within a day. And so that's a very good story. And then the story went on because the Redditor wrote a mea culpa saying, "I was wrong and I feel awful and I regret what I did." And this was a story about the ethic of the internet coming in there and saying, we are going to honor, first of all, this woman, and then we're going to honor the Redditor who said, "I'm sorry." And you think that, I think that we have to think of like, we are the internet. We are, ask not what the internet can do for you, but ask what you can do for the internet. We are the internet. We have an ethic that we can bring to the internet, and we have to do it every time we're online. We should be ourselves and be our best selves on the internet.
And Jimmy, that's, I suppose, at the core of what we're all really getting at there. It is something our children need to know to be global citizens, that there is a platform, there is a safety valve within it, but it is a place where they can actually cross boundaries, whether it's faith, the edges of your country, or whatever.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I do think that this concept of a civil dialogue is something that more than ever before needs to be taught to young people, because, well, like Tony, where I grew up, it was all quite homogenous, and you were supposed to be very polite to people because we were Southern, and that's what you do. But the idea that you would need to be tolerant of other people's quite different beliefs than your own was a bit alien, because there was nobody around with quite different beliefs, And now young people will interact with people from all kinds of different belief systems or atheists. When I first got involved with the foundation, I said, "Well, Tony, it sounds really great, and I really like what you're doing, but I'm actually an atheist. Is there a place for me here?" And I was happy to find out there is, and 2 of our team won tonight, so that sounds that sounds good. But this idea of the foundation, the one thing that really hit it home for me, that actually it's we really mean it. Like this open dialogue is the most important thing, and the particulars of what people believe, well, we'll learn from each other.
We've got you here anyway.
Yeah.
Lovely discussion. Anyway, we've got some people contributing online questions, which we should take a couple of now too. And it'd be great to get a reflection from all of you. We've had a question via Twitter from Nikki Gumbel from Holy Trinity Brompton, HTB, who's asking what the future holds and what will the scene be like 10 years from now, June.
Wow, that's a great
question. Where do you start?
Well, I mean, if you look at how much it's changed in the last 2 years even, I don't know. I think it's one of those things, it's forever unfolding. And I think the exciting thing about the internet is, we can use it to either further divide us or unite us, and I hope we go for the latter. I think we will, especially when you see the young people today. I just feel so good about the world after seeing the film today. So, yeah, who knows? It's exciting.
Sarah?
Yeah, I mean, I'm often asked this at Google, because, come and tell us what's the future. And we don't plan very far ahead at all. I mean, we have much shorter planning schedules than most ordinary companies. So I think that tells you something about how...
Google? 10 years?
12 years,
12 years,
maybe?
so there you go. Yeah.
I mean, I think a bit older? Yeah. But, But it's, yeah, I think it tells you how fast technology moves, is that no one wants to predict. I mean, I think what you can see is two things. Firstly, the developing world is now coming online. So, and that's a really fascinating, you know, Africa coming online is the most exciting thing. And, you know, us, yeah, you get your phone out, show everyone the African mobile phone. But mobile, everything's going mobile. Don't build a website for the desktop.
When I pulled it out earlier, she sort of made fun of it because she didn't realize what it was. It's a Google phone, which it's really great. Android phone. A friend of mine bought this for me in Africa, in Kenya, on the street, unlocked, put any SIM card in and it works. He bought it for $85, but this year it's gone down. It's $50, and they've sold hundreds of thousands of these. And it's full internet-capable phone. And you know, people, the next billion people are coming online much faster than most people realize. Even in our industry, I think most people haven't really grasped how fast it's happening. And so, you know, when we talk about this sort of diversity on the internet, the diverse opinions, what we used to mean by that is, wow, Americans are talking to Europeans. It's amazing, you know? Now there's a whole bunch of people coming online who we know very little about, and they're going to be interacting with everyone. It's amazing.
Very exciting.
It is indeed. We've got another question now to address the issue of human trafficking, and I think we've got a question in the audience. Is it Ash that was hoping to speak to us? Hi, Ash. And this is regarding human trafficking and advocacy. Far away.
How important do you feel that user-generated content in advocacy work, such as raising awareness of human trafficking, malaria, like you do in Sierra Leone, is, and how do you think the mainstream media should use it effectively? I mean, given that the Lord McAlpine stuff recently as well can show you that user-generated content can be used in a negative way as well, but how can we make sure the mainstream media always get, not get the story right, but use it effectively, basically?
The McAlpine story was actually the BBC, I think, not so much user-generated content. So, because that's how it really spread from a few crazy people online to sort of being broadcast to everyone in a way that people thought was trustworthy for those first few hours. So, no, I think it's incredibly important. I think a lot of issues like human trafficking, for example, they're just not within people's range of awareness most of the time. They've heard of it, whatever, and they need the facts. They need more information before they can take action or even begin to care about it. You know, there's lots of problems in the world, and I don't know which one I should care about until I'm informed about the size and the scope and what can be done about it. And social media can play an incredible role in that, particularly, well, as you say, in the U.S., where the news media is now sort of a branch of entertainment, and aren't as likely to take up sort of difficult and complicated causes that, in my experience, people are willing to take up if they're given the information.
And I think the Coney campaign was an example of that. You know, I don't know if you're aware of the Coney campaign. It was amazing what happened with that video. Within 2 days, 160 million people had seen that video and were aware who Coney was. So I think for sure it's the future.
And Paul, do you have a sense of that in terms of the people that you deal with and you're part of the website?
Well, I think the opportunity with that is that more stories can be told, because I think a lot of times this is an idea, human trafficking. But if we can hear stories and if we can be introduced to real people who have suffered from this or who are working on it, and we can learn their stories. You know, I'm also the religion editor for AOL, and AOL is always looking for those amazing human stories. And if we can find them, then we can turn them into actually something that it may be somewhat in entertainment, because some of AOL's front stories are, but they also can enlighten people and make them aware of a human existence that they are not aware of. So I think that's the reason blogging is very important, and getting stories out there and telling news media about stories. Also, I think the news media actually responds to Twitter. We will, if we see a lot of stuff, you know, swarming around something, we're going to be very interested in it, and then we might go into it and report on it. And I think that it's one of the most amazing things about our new media is that I get tweeted at all day with story ideas, and that's a good thing. And then I can go out and see, well, what can we really report on? But I'm much more available than I would have been 10 years ago as a journalist.
That's fascinating, and it has actually changed the way newsrooms operate. I've seen that in my own as well.
Yeah, I think to add another dimension to this from the point of view of governments and what governments do. I mean, I think, you know, for example, in what we're trying to do with the Face-to-Faith program, which is about linking up schools of different faiths across the world, right? And the truth is, I mean, with the best will in the world, we can't reach all the schools, right? We're an organization that's growing rapidly, but no matter how rapidly we go, we can't do that. What we do want to do is to prove to governments that this idea of using the new technology to link people up is actually an important part of education today. And so what we're trying to do here is prove a concept and say, you know, you should not be in a religiously diverse country, you know, failing to educate people about the other. And that's not about, you know, we've had this debate, we're now in the American school system for the first time, but we had to overcome the notion that, well, you know, you shouldn't preach religion in schools. And we're saying we're not trying to convert anybody to religion. We're just saying if you want to understand the world, understand difference and diversity. Now, I think this is where the technology gives us a whole range of new opportunities. But as ever, I'm afraid, which is what I learned after 10 years of being Prime Minister in government, is government moves really slowly. Government is the last to catch on to anything. And, you know, what is really sensible, therefore, is for us also to examine not just the difference it makes to people and to the media, but what should we be doing? I mean, what should we be doing right now to educate the next generation of children in many countries in the world in which religious diversity is a core issue? What should we be doing to educate them towards a peacefully coexistent view of the other person? I mean, it's a huge issue. If you think of the amount of money that we invest in all sorts of different things, this would be an investment worth making.
But many reasons to be positive. I mean, not least from the films that we've seen here tonight. Just in conclusion, I mean, this is a sort of crucial point that we start to understand this new landscape before us, but there's reasons to be very positive about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that, you know, what you've seen tonight and what we've been talking about on the panel is the fact that now everyone has a voice that can be heard by the whole world. And that's an extraordinarily powerful tool. You know, it's not just editors and broadcasters who get to make decisions about what we talk about and what we all share. It's us as individuals. And it will have very powerful and quite scary consequences. And, you know, the various scenarios we've seen with offensive content can be very scary for everyone to deal with. But I think you always have to be optimistic about it, and you always have to use the tools for the good, because otherwise, you know, well, we could give up and go home otherwise.
But you must be enormously hopeful just seeing the content that's offered to you and the contacts that are made with you, Paul.
I think it is up to us. There's a lot of reasons to be negative, so it is really up to us. And that's what I go around all over talking about. People of goodwill have to be on the internet, and they have to make their presence known, and they have to always be their best selves, and they have to counteract negativity and misinformation whenever they see it, and have a mindset that matters. What we do matters, and that's what I'm trying to promote, you know, 24/7.
Jimmy.
Yeah, I mean, for me, one of the amazing things, so, you know, I go out and I speak a lot at universities, high schools, and when I was in high school, if they had said to me, the editor-in-chief of Britannica is coming to give a speech, you know, I would have just been like, kill me now. This is a different generation, and they're super intellectually engaged. They cheer and they yell and they love Wikipedia, and they're really interested in ideas. And I think that is, if we can nurture that and sustain that, we've got an amazing generation coming up. It's not the Twitter generation, it's the Wikipedia generation.
And June, perhaps just a final thought from you. I mean, you work exactly in this field. You're right at the cutting edge of it. What would you say to the young people who might be with us this evening and watching online to inspire them to take up the cause?
Yeah, well, what I would ask is they join the UN project that I'm working on. It's called row6.com. Our tagline is 6 degrees of integration, because I think the world is separate enough. And Moody, your video is actually our mission statement, so that tells you what it's about. I think we've got to get to a place where we understand each other better.
Okay, thank you very much indeed, Sarah, Paul, Jimmy, Tony, obviously, and June too. Very much indeed for talking to us this evening. Thank you. So now it's time to announce the final award of this evening, the winner of the overall award for Faith Shorts 2012. And the prize is to make and edit a film of their choice with a professional film crew, kindly provided by Silverfish Media. And to announce the winner, Tony Blair.
It's my very great pleasure to announce the winner. This is Liat Hargill.
Wow, it's big. Very surprised. Thank you, Silverfish, for the opportunity. And thank you to the Bezalel Academy of Arts and Design in Jerusalem for all their assistance in making this movie. Thank you to everyone who was involved. Lance Hunter doing the voice of the wonderful old man in the movie, and who's my ex-teacher and a wonderful friend. Thank you to all my friends who are watching now. Hey, Masha. And thank you very much for this. This is amazing. Thank you.
And if I may invite Tony back up to the podium. It's not often you get to boss around a former Prime Minister, is it? So I'll give it a whirl. But if I can just invite you here.
Well, just a few thank yous before Julie closes the proceedings. I'd like once again to thank Julie very much for coming and adding such glamour and personality to the presentation this evening. Thank you very much indeed, Julie. And I'd like to thank Charles and Mudit and, of course, Liat for their fantastic films. I mean, you know, it shows a certain breadth of mind for a faith foundation to have a film competition and for 2 out of 3 winners to be people who aren't of faith, except they are of faith. And that, I think, is also quite an interesting lesson for those of us who are of what I would call traditional religious belief. That actually, Liat's film, which is very much about the need for religious tolerance and the kind of despair that is engendered and the futility that's engendered by religious intolerance and by a debate with people whose minds are closed to each other. And Buddhist, which was really about how you have to have some notion of self and in a sense, some love for who you are in order to be able to demonstrate and show love to others. And I thought that both of those films, even though made by people who are avowedly not of religious faith, nonetheless demonstrated a great deal of faith in the human ability to see what was wrong with our world and want to change it. And Charles's film was very much more a traditional film about faith and the solace and help that it can give people. But all 3 films were films that had 2 things in common. First of all, they were made by young people of passionate belief, and I think that's a great thing for our world, that there are such young people who do have these passionate beliefs and are prepared to go and express them in art. And secondly, they're films that, in their different ways, show the diversity of our world today. We had a great panel earlier, and you know, very high quality group of panelists, and I'd like to thank them all for coming here this evening. But what came out of it, I think, is something very important and fundamental to what the Faith Foundation is about. See, I spent 10 years as a Prime Minister dealing with a whole range of political issues. And I came to the conclusion in the end, not about what politics could achieve. I came to lots of conclusions about that, but I also came to a conclusion about what politics couldn't achieve, its limitations, done in the traditional way. And what I realized was that one element of whether the world was going to have a decent future or not in the 21st century was going to be whether people of different cultures and faiths could reach across the faith and cultural divide and link up with each other and be prepared to share in a common vision of how humanity can make progress. And that the answer to that could not simply lie in the hands of decision makers who are politicians, but it had also to lie in the hands of people, and of people from different faith groups and none, who were prepared nonetheless to talk about these issues and to talk about them in a way that the conventional world of politics doesn't reach. And everything we were talking about earlier today was about how the world of the media and communication is undergoing this revolution. But the same revolution is necessary actually in how politicians look at the world of faith and its ability to influence people for good or for bad. So this to me is, the foundation is something that I wanted to do arising out of my experience of how the world was developing, and something that I know can only be done if there are people out there in different societies and communities that are prepared to get involved and to help change the world in a positive way. And that's something that government on its own can't do, and sometimes government are the least able to do. So this is what lies behind the Tony Blair Faith Foundation. I'd like to say also a special word of thanks to Nick, to Duncan, to Omid, and to Cormac for coming along tonight and to awarding these prizes. I'd like to thank all of you who've been with us really in this journey from the beginning. This is something that I think is going to go from strength to strength over time. And I find something very exciting and stimulating and inspiring about seeing these films today and realizing that the future is in the hands of a generation that is really concerned about the world, wanting to change it, and what's more, able to change it. So thank you all very, very much indeed for coming here this evening. It's been a great honor and pleasure to be part of it. And Julie, I'm now going to ask you to end the proceedings, but before I do so, just a little, I remember during the course of the Northern Ireland peace process, there was one of the members of the Irish delegation told me a story about during the course of the Troubles, people will often be stopped in the street and asked for their, religious persuasion, Protestant or Catholic, and if you gave the wrong answer, you were liable to be attacked. And this guy was walking in the street late at night, and he was come across this gang of youths who sort of put him up against the wall, and he said to him, "What are you, Protestant or Catholic?" And he said, "I'm Muslim, actually." And they said, "Yeah, but are you a Protestant Muslim or a Catholic Muslim?" And, that's one part of the world that we live in. But the other face of it was shown by these films tonight, and I'm very proud of them and of the foundation and of the competition. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed, Tony. Well, as Hugh Jackman mentioned at the beginning of the evening, the work of the foundation, including the Faith Shorts films, is supported by donations. So I'm here to ask you also to please dig deep to help this amazing filmmaking to continue and to give more young people the opportunity. There are people with buckets at the back, apparently I can't quite see them, to collect any loose change or indeed loose notes that you'd like to donate. We'll take those too. And don't worry if you've come without your wallet. You can also text donations, as you'll see on the slide that's coming up now. So we've got all areas covered, as you'll see, buckets, text, whatever. So whatever you are able to give, we'd be very, very grateful for it. Thank you. And I think it's about time now that we concluded, so you'll be glad to hear it's time for some refreshments, some drinks and canapes in the David Lean room downstairs. From all of us here at Faith Shorts 2012, thank you and have a lovely evening.